This is called Hannity. This isn't a joke. Who's in charge of
We
the White
begin
House?
with a very serious question.
By a very inserious person who looks like a fire plug in a suit.
This isn't a joke.
Oh, so it's different than your regular show.
Who is in charge at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
Of what? You mean like the chef or people at the grounds or is Biden actually at Pennsylvania? Are you asking about the building when he's gone?
Look at this Trafalgar. That's Robert Cahaley and Convention of States poll, one of the most accurate pollsters in the country. A majority of the American people believe that it is definitely not Joseph Biden. A whopping 57% think that Joe is not fully executing the duties of the office of president.
Yeah, he delegates a lot of what he's doing. He's actually, I mean, a good leader, you're doing like 20% of it. You know, you could argue that that's him doing more shit than he should.
President. Another
fully executing. Yeah, he is not executing. I mean, he's the executive branch, but he's not actually the one who actually does the stuff, pulls the strings on it. He's the guy who actually goes, yes, this is our strategy. You guys take care of that. If you run into any speed bumps, let me know.
In other words, Joe's not making.
And by the way, this is also a push poll by a lunatic right-wing organization. It's a total push poll.
Decisions. He's not in charge.
Convention of States Action Trafalgar Group.
I know at times on this program I have joked about this, but honestly,
yeah, don't use that word.
Starting tonight, this stops. That stops. Joke.
It's not working. This is what, by the way, just so you know, Sean Hannity is saying it stops tonight. I'm not making jokes about it anymore because his jokes aren't working. The president's sippy cup bullshit. He's getting a lot of pushback from even supporters of the show because it sounds like he's shitting on America all the time, which of course he is.
Joke. This is not a joking matter.
Well, yeah, which is good because you're not funny and I mean you look. I don't know where to even put this.
America has a president that is now obviously cognitively compromised, and not only the country sees it, our enemies see it.
And he would know because he talks to them all the time.
And this cannot be.
Well, he doesn't talk to them. He tells Tucker Carlson what to email them, along with his pictures of his balls.
Good for anyone. According to this poll, look at these numbers.
Oh my God, it's terrible. 58% of independents do not believe the president is fully executing the.
58% of independents, they see it. Even 32% of Democrats understand Joe's not really the one in charge.
No, you can be in charge and not executing the things. You know what I mean? Like the coach of, I don't know if you know this, but football coaches almost never run plays themselves. Almost never. I'm sure there's been a coach that's run out and pushed the quarterback out of the way and decided at the last minute. I'm sure that's happened at some point. You know, Little League's crazy sometimes. But
that's right. A third of voters, Joe's own party, believe Joe's not capable of executing his duties in the office of president.
Well, no, that's not what that says. It says he's not fully executing the duties of his office, meaning that other people do it. If you ask people that question a certain way, they're going to go, do you think he actually makes every phone call himself, or does he delegate it? Which parts of it is he involved in? Is he involved in all of it at once? The answer is obviously not. No one would be. But then, of course, this is a complaint coming from an asshole who's not even engaged in the writing of his opening monologue.
And, of course, they see what we all see, and that is somebody that is weak and frail and a cognitive mess and a shell of his former self. And it only appears to be getting worse. The main question now, okay, if he's not in charge, and
then how did he become president, and why are you on is your whole network's ratings slipping?
Polls show that most people don't think he is. Who is in charge?
Well, just because polls that were pushed by a group you like assert something doesn't mean it's anyone else's responsibility to answer your assertion.
Who knew about?
Yeah, and you're right. No, a third of Democrats do not think that. Yeah.
Joe's condition, and what did they know, and when did they know it?
And we're just going to show a loop of him ordering ice cream.
The weekend, more struggles as Biden pulled out 2 no cards in an unsuccessful attempt to answer a pretty simple, basic, fundamental question. This is like a softball. You just knock it right out of the park.
And instead of freeballing it as you would, he decided to give the actual answer, and he had the numbers written down.
Joe, he's got to refer to the cards. Take a look.
With the most recent hack by the Russians, would you say that this means
We're not
that...
sure it's the Russians.
Okay, with this
I've gotten
okay.
I got a brief as I was on the plane. That's why I was late getting off the plane. I'll be in better shape
Wait. Why are you cutting? What are you taking out of there? He was answering the question.
to talk to you about it. Hang on a second.
So you took out the rest of the answer, and then you jumped ahead to who he's going to answer next. Or talk to next.
I'll tell you what they sent me. Okay.
So he's referencing what he got sent specifically.
The idea, first of all, we're not sure who it is for certain, number one. And what I did, I directed the full resources of the government to assist in a response if we determine.
Oh, so you're not going to finish it? You're not going to finish the sentence? You're going to cut out the middle where he was talking about it, and then you're going to go to when he referenced what their statement was going to be. Honest to God. This is it? And by the way, for the record, every single night Sean Hannity uses a teleprompter. All the time. He's got an IFB in his ear not to hear his guests, so his producer can tell him what to do next. All the time. Every day. Just so we're clear.
That wasn't a hard question.
Yeah, so why didn't you play the whole answer? Was it hard to play the whole segment? I mean, like, from when he was asked to when he moved on to the next question? Because you obviously edited it, and editing takes time.
That didn't need notes. Every hostile actor, every hostile regime in the world, they're studying him every day. And they're also becoming more emboldened.
Yeah, and what they're saying is, oh, he's not an impulsive asshole who can be led around by his nose like the last guy. That's what they're seeing. They're seeing him as contemplative, and they're seeing the response our government is putting forward. And that he formed a ransomware task force, for example, and he's letting them act on it. And he's also not jumping to conclusions so that he can be suckered into believing it was somebody else. If one group is, let's say we find out that China or Iran is actually behind this, but they're trying to make it look like the Russians are doing it because they know the last guy would defend Iran, Russia and stop looking. And so now they're seeing, well, maybe they'll take the bait again. And he's going, no, we'll wait until we have a real solid answer. That's what they're actually seeing. That's what they would actually see from if they're legit leaders, not opinion journalists who work for Rupert Murdoch in other countries.
Every day. Look at this report. Chinese state media, they're now publicly boasting about a three-part plan to invade Taiwan. In case you don't know, America's top ally in the region. In a long, belligerent speech, China's, hostile actor, dictator, Xi, actually said that he is committed to the hostile takeover of Taiwan, also vowing that any country that stands
Yeah, it was the 100-year anniversary. We saw that.
in China's way will, quote, have their heads bashed bloody against the Great Wall of Steel forged by over 1.4 billion Chinese people.
That's a different segment of the speech, but okay.
Now, keep in mind, China is now also, the media is ignoring this, they have teamed up with Russia, and they're now supplying the mullahs in Iran with dangerous weapons that they're using in their proxy wars all over the Middle East. Now, European leaders, they're voicing grave concerns over Iran's nuclear program, as the country will now soon again begin to produce enriched uranium.
Huh. Didn't we have an agreement with them that was holding when the last guy came in that stopped them from doing that?
And a massive violation of Obama's previous and precious nuclear deal,
Which, who got us out of that? Who?
Billions of dollars, cargo planes of cash and other currency. No word on how Biden plans to respond to any of these situations, just like it.
Yeah, he's not going to tell you, asshole. They're working on responses. They've got teams on it. That's what the State Department's for. We have ambassadors, diplomats. We're working with the UN. What are you talking about? I'm sorry, is he supposed to tweet bullshit to make you feel good?
There appears to be a plan of action against the Kremlin. What's Joe going to do after yet another likely Russian-based cyber attack? Up to 1,500
likely
businesses.
Oh, yeah. RNC says Russian-linked hackers breached one of its contractors. Huh. And after all they did for them...
were targeted this time. The Republican National Committee allegedly breached. So another serious question tonight. Joe, what are you going to do? Or maybe the question doesn't go to Joe, whoever is actually making decisions at 1,600.
By the way, Sean, if you want to make it look like he's not in control, don't show him in front of the White House speaking very boldly, doing his Clint Eastwood squint. It's not helping your argument. Go back to use the footage, like where in between somebody asking him a very complicated question and him forming his answer because he's more diplomatic than the last guy who go, I think it's terrible, it's super great. We'll do it very fast and it's going to be in 2 weeks. Like that kind of bullshit, like, because he's not doing that.
100 Pennsylvania Avenue. What are you planning to do? Maybe you'll divulge who you are publicly. And of course, no one in...
Well, here he is meeting with first responders. You mean in Florida? You mean that kind of revealing who you are publicly? I mean, shouldn't he be out at the site throwing rolls of paper towels?
The media mob is going to hold Biden accountable, ever ask a tough question, just like no one on fake news CNN, 3 broadcast channels, MSDNC, New York Times, Washington Post. They won't dare ask questions about the mental...
Do you actually go anywhere? I mean, I know I'm doing this shit from the show. It's like, you get paid millions of dollars. You don't... I mean, besides having sit-downs with Trump at the golf club you're a member at, are you at any of these things? Have you arranged for a meeting with Biden?
Mental capabilities or lack thereof of their dear leader. Just like they denied riots were riots. Just like they protected Canada.
No. Protests are protests. Riots were riots. But protesters aren't rioting just because you don't like what the people protesting are protesting about. You can't make them the rioters and looters. There's a separation there.
Joe Biden in his basement bunker, now President Joe. And remember, these were the same...
Yeah, all it took. Yeah, it's amazing. He just hung out in his basement and fucking beat your guy. That's weird. Can't think, can't put a sentence together, takes him forever to... has to use notes to answer shit, and still kicked your guy's ass all over the place. Leveled him in the debates. Embarrassed him in the election.
Same idiots who were the biggest proponents of all they wanted to talk about was, the 25th Amendment and whether or not Donald Trump will get a cognitive test all throughout the Trump presidency.
Have you, Sean, I'm guessing you didn't see the announcement of the lawsuit today.
In fact, it wasn't that long ago that the armchair psychologists on the left and in the media had no problem diagnosing the President of the United States and demanding his removal from office for a variety of issues.
That happens when he throws his jaw in reverse sometimes.
You might recall. Let's go, as Warner Wolf said, to the videotape.
Rosenstein discussed recruiting cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to remove Mr. Trump from office for being unfit.
People close to him during the campaign told me had early stages of dementia. Now, listen, you can get mad at me if you want to.
You can say that's not okay to say, but
it is okay to say.
He is unfit. Invoke the 25th Amendment.
This New York Times article basically...
Yeah, I mean, and
showed us how Trump is not only in the early stages of dementia, but he...
By the way, we're past the early stage now.
...is in cognitive decline.
Watching this president from here, I discussed the 25th Amendment at the end of the first month of the Trump presidency.
Join the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the vice president to remove this president by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment.
He is unfit, and he should step aside. And it may take a 25th Amendment to get him to step aside.
If we applied those standards to Joe, we'd be invoking the 25th Amendment and asking him to step aside.
Why? I'm sorry, has he crisscrossed some sort of policy line and screwed up has he gone to, did he meet with Vladimir Putin, shake his hand, palm up, and then tear up his notes afterwards and not let anybody present gather with him, and then go out in front of the world with Putin standing there and go, I can't imagine why they would do something like that.
Now, despite Biden's obvious everyday cognitive struggles, the media
He has a stutter.
mob is suddenly unconcerned with the mental capabilities of the President of the United States.
Because none of it exists except in your mind. I mean, there might be an argument for you. Is there a 25th Amendment in the Fox business code? I have to talk to their HR department.
They're also totally unbothered by the corrupt Biden family syndicate. And yet, another explosive report. I can't wait for a book to come out. Miranda Devine.
Some daddy pay care.
Texts from Hunter's laptop from hell show the president's son complaining that he, Hunter, had to pay for, quote, everything for this entire family.
This is the same shit we saw last year. They've had this whole laptop for 2 years, and the only stuff that they're sharing is this. I mean, we've seen this with Rudy Giuliani's thing over and fucking over. This is the one, like, if you have to pay for everything in this family, why would you? How are you the bag man if you're bitching? The bag man just carries the money. They don't. If he had to pay for this stuff, or it was understood that the big guy got it, and all they're alleging about this big crime syndicate, who the fuck goes to the Godfather and go, why am I paying your bills, Pop? This makes no fucking sense.
Family for 30 years, including Daddy, apparently, while vice president.
This is the same, again, this is this Sunday? You're putting this out now? We covered this on Rudy's Common Sense in, what, August of last year? Yeah, and yes, agreed. There is no laptop. This is bullshit. There's no fucking way you have an entire laptop if we're still talking about 4 printouts Rudy Giuliani gave you last year.
Other documents revealing that Hunter purportedly paying for his father's cell phone bill, other household expenses. Now, why on earth would Hunter, we know at the time a struggling crack addict and prostitution addict, apparently.
Can you be a prostitution addict? I guess so. It'd be a sex addict. Is there a way? I mean, I guess well, people are going to like what they're going to like.
Why would he be paying his prominent father's bills when he's wealthy? It's almost as if
It's almost as if the laptop doesn't exist and it's all made up.
Guy was just taking his cut of the pie. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Well, then why would he bitch about it? That's the end of that piece. Holy hell. That's all? Sean. That's what you got? You're the whole premise, this whole bit was who's in charge at the White House. You've set this up. It's called Hannity. This isn't a joke. Who's in charge of the White House? That's the name of this video. And we go through this whole thing, the beginning. That was your premise, right? This is the baseline premise of it. Oh, wait, hold on. Back up. Go back.
So joining us now.
Wait, I'm not going to that one. Back up. 1, 2. There we go.
We begin with
So we start this. This is the premise. Who's in charge? Then we go to poll Americans don't believe he's in charge, which doesn't tell you who's in charge. The premise is that whatever people believe is reality. And it's a push poll from a conservative group, but never mind that. It has to be true. This is independents and Democrats supposedly believe this. And then they go to this one piece. He cuts the middle out of Biden's answer, cuts to the end of it when he's going to the next piece, and he's just going, let me reference what they told me. This is what they said. And then I put the full force of the government behind a response if needed. That's it. That's our whole statement. They wrote out a statement. If there's a statement on this, it's pretty touchy shit because it means going to war with Russia if they're actively involved in this stuff. It's not something you tiptoe into or trip and fall into, I suppose. So they go to this piece. He plays this again, and then he goes to plays the chunk of it after he's at it, and then this goes America's enemies emboldened, meaning America's weak. And all these Iran and China super strong, and more Chinese and Iranian propaganda. Just basically parroting Chinese talking points and quotes from different sources. This is Reuters, and this was the Sun. And then, so we go to that. By the way, is any of this about who's in charge in the White House? Just saying, still on. We don't expect it to keep on one track, but I just want to clarify. This is his monologue. This is breaking news at the bottom of it, And Dan Bongino is coming on to talk about it. Then, this is a little recap. Then we go, European powers decry latest nuclear move by Iran. Well, who got us out of that deal? That was Trump. We had a deal. Now we're trying to rebuild the deal, which you don't think we should have the deal, so why should we have any say in whether they have nuclear power or not? Trump got out of it. What are you going to do, Joe, about these things because they haven't announced their response yet? Then RNC says they were hacked. Again, who's in charge at the RNC that they were hacked? Then Biden's protection program. That's I guess that's the news media protecting him from himself. And then this is his response. Remember, we're still, the name of this video and the opening premise is who's in charge at the White House, meaning somebody needs a cognitive test. And then he goes through and shows all the people who were responding to what Trump was, his issues cognitively. Doesn't show the clips that they're referring to, which is kind of telling, Sean. And then goes back to Biden protection program. And then Hunter engaged in some daddy pay care. This is the thing. And they're still using the same evidence, lack thereof, fabricated evidence from last August that didn't work before the election, isn't working now, and is all made up. We'll show pictures of them together because father and son. Again, Hannity, how much does your show fucking cost with this fiber bullshit you're throwing up? Yeah, who's in charge at Hannity's show? That's a great question. That's the name of this video. Who is running Hannity's show? Because it doesn't look like anybody is, especially Sean Hannity. Because if you're going to operate in your opening monologue on a premised idea, and you crafted it today, somebody paid someone on Fiverr to make this, graphic. Money in the background, $50 and $100 bills, him applauding a smiling Hunter. My bills are paid in big green text, which is just cheesy as shit. Who is running Sean Hannity's show? Who's in charge over there? Who actually thinks this is good programming and it actually works? Because you can't just skate on the fact that you're, Trump's current ball gargler at Fox. It's not bringing the people in. You're going to need a media strategy, Sean. And with Tucker obviously looking down the barrel of some legal or ethical problems, or maybe the end of his marriage, you've already passed that part in your end, you're going to have to pick up some slack. You're the anchor, buddy. Who's running your show? Do you even have a staff? I mean, I know I'm doing this alone and Can't Stop Lying. Amazing work. Thank you for the help you do gathering clips for me so that I can react to these things without having seen them before. That was one of the toughest parts of finding material before, is the avoiding the temptation to actually watch some of this shit. But who runs Sean Hannity's show? I don't know. I don't know that anybody does. Certainly Sean Hannity isn't organizing this show into any cohesive structure nightly. It's all garbled bullshit. They set up a false premise, zigzag from point to point, which none of it ties together, then go to Dan Bongino. No wonder the Q people are dropping your goddamn show. As nutty as they are, they're pretty good at linking shit, even if it's, they're like, this leads to this, and this leads to that, and that can't be because it doesn't link to this. Are you just hoping that it'll trigger some weird brain cramp where they have to link shit for you? They'll think it's all tied together. Just count on it. Who is running Sean Hannity's show? I say no one. Prove me wrong.